Fist bump, welcome back. So my name is Faris, aka the Football Accountant, and today we are doing part 2 in the series of winning the World Cup. We're taking a quick overview of these previous 5 teams. So the last video we did 2022 Argentina. This one we are coming to 2018 France. So this slide, lessons from France 2018, is the 2 or 3 things. This time it's 3 main memories that I have of what made this team good and what did they change, or what players did they change, what was their style, their identity, before I sort of went and did a deeper dive into the lineups and watching a couple of the games. So this one has 3. The first one is they have the star player Mbappe, attacking wise, who is allowed to be a bit lazy defensively because they have mostly Griezmann and Matuidi playing on the opposite wing, doing his running for him. Now, they also had Kante in midfield, but I mean, he was going to run for anyone. Their first lineup was up top, Griezmann, Dembele, Mbappe. So I would look at that team, or looking at that team, I would think, okay, you're going to be very, very fluid. You're going to, all great players. You can all play left wing, right wing, number 9, more like false 9s-ish, I would say, for Dembele and Griezmann anyway. And you're going to try to play like what PSG have done the last couple of years, where it's very fluid. You're asking loads of questions of the defenders. And if you're maybe not having the best game on the left wing, you're just going to switch with the right winger, and then you're going to go and cook that fullback, right? But even though they won the first game, they didn't look that good, right? They didn't look as fluid as you might expect, which I think is a theme for international football. It's not the same as club football. And if they had more time on the training ground, of course, those 3 guys are all-time greats, right? But when you have limited time on the training ground, you need to keep things a lot simpler. So from the second game onwards, they brought in Giroud. Now, Giroud is a lot more of a target man. He's still, big guy who's good with his feet, that whole thing, but he's a fixed number 9. He's very good at bringing others into play. He's very tall, very physical, good at winning his headers, and he worked very, very hard defensively. Now, I wouldn't say he worked so hard to cover Mbappe, because the other players did that, but he was very hardworking. And the other thing was, all 4 of their defenders who played heavy minutes at this tournament were ostensibly centre-backs. Now, they had Varane and Umtiti playing centre-back, that makes sense, but then you have Pavard and Lucas Hernandez, who have spent a lot of time at centre-back in their careers. You can think of it like Hincapié at Arsenal and Timber. It's like they're okay going forward, but they're not the same as that traditional archetype of, like, for me, Danny Rose and Kyle Walker, right? Or Luke Shaw, these players that are just very, very good at bombing on. Andy Robertson, Trent Alexander-Arnold earlier, before he started inverting into midfield, they were a lot more reserved, right? So again, studying these 5 teams, the whole point is, are there trends to follow for, for me, England, or whoever it is that you support? And from this team, it's not really going to be as fluid as you might hope or want from your Premier League team or league team. And it's going to be a lot more reserved at the back than, again, you might want it to be. So now we come to the minutes distribution. Again, most amount of minutes up here, you can see the yellow column down to low or no minutes down there. Now, Varane was the only player to play every minute available, but we'll see why as we come to the lineups and their results. The 2 numbers again that I want you to remember: the 11th guy, 3.7, and the last guy off the bench, 1.6, and only 3 subs here, not 5. So this starting 11 was very, very settled. And this is the starting 11 after the first game that played heavy minutes. And Deschamps was actually closer to finding his final team, only by a bit, but he was closer from the first game to the final team. So now we come to, again, age along the bottom, minutes distribution, or minutes up the side. We have the average age and the median minutes there as well. This is only the top 14 players, so there's 14 dots. Again, from the last video is I expect a bell curve, so low minutes down here, coming up to high minutes, coming back down to low minutes. Now, if you take out Mbappe and Giroud, I believe it is there, you can see it somewhat follows that. So again, looking at trends, I'm not saying if you have a couple more players up here, or maybe you had this dot up here, something like that, that you can't win. But are you going to win a World Cup where all of your players are between 18 and 26? I really, really don't think so. Are you going to win a World Cup where all of your players are 30 to 38? No, because old players bring certain skill sets and value in certain ways, and young players bring value in other ways. It's all about balance. Now we come to their results. So they're the only team actually out of the past 5 that have won their first 2 games. And like I said, they started very fluid in that first game against Australia, but didn't look wholly convincing doing so. So he made changes from there. Now, winning your first 2 games at this World Cup coming, or any of the previous, means you are guaranteed to go through, because 3 other teams can't get 6 points if you've won against 2 of them. Hopefully that makes sense to people, which means you are able to rotate heavily by that 3rd game, which they did. And then again, we come to the knockouts. So they had 14 goals scored, 6 goals conceded. They kept 4 clean sheets, giving them a goal difference of 8. Right? So again, it's like winning every game 1.10, 1.15-0, or it's like winning every game for them here. Again, 14 goals scored in 7 games, 2 goals to 6 goals conceded, almost 1 goal a game, right? So winning every game 2 to like 0.85, something like that. They are the only team as well that didn't need extra time or penalties in any of their knockouts. Here's the lineup for the first game. Like I said, very fluid front 3, right? And struggled past my boys, Australia. Now, he was slightly closer. These are the 2 players that came out between now and the final. And Tolisso came out for Matuidi again to balance out Mbappe. And Dembele came out for Giroud to give them a fixed number 9 up top. Right? And he actually finds his team early. He realizes, or maybe not necessarily that these 2 players didn't play well, but I'm going to build around Mbappe. That means I need Matuidi and Giroud to give him that focal point. And the reason that I say it was Griezmann and Matuidi doing the running for him more so than Giroud is because I think, again, looking at trends now, you are going to have 8 players that defend very, very deep, right? Whether you play a 4-4 or whether you play a 5-3, you are going to need lots of players back here. Then you have 2 players. You have one number 10 that gets to be, let's say, like halfway lazy when you're defending your box. And you have one number 9 who gets to be all the way lazy, but I'm not calling him lazy, but just he gets to stay up top. He doesn't have to track all the way back because you need an out ball for counterattacks, and he needs energy when he's attacking, right? So normally in this formation, it would be Matuidi drops back here to protect Kante's left, and Mbappe drops back here to protect Pogba's right. Now, what they did was Mbappe was either the guy being all the way lazy or halfway lazy. Matuidi did his normal job, and Griezmann, instead of being that number 10 that was halfway lazy, he did a lot of the defending for Mbappe. That's why I say it was more Griezmann than, for example, Giroud. In Argentina, it was Alvarez who did Messi's defending, but here they did it slightly differently, but the principles are the same. Now, they've won their first 2 games, so they're able to make wholesale changes, right? They make 6 changes. Now, the interesting thing for me is, even though you can go out and lose this game, whatever, he still keeps quite a few starters in. Giroud didn't start the first game, so okay, it makes sense. He doesn't maybe need a rest quite as much. Griezmann starts, but he comes off in the 68th minute. Kante and Varane play the whole game, which, I mean, for Kante, and his play style, you might think you want to give him a rest, but you don't over rotate. If you can avoid rotating at all, if you think you've found your final team in the first or second game, you don't rotate at all, right? Because chemistry is so important with low time on the training ground. And Hernandez started, but he came off in the 50th minute. Right? The other players, not that they're not important, but for 4 of them, Lamar, Kimpembe, Mendenda, Sidibe, this is the only minutes that they played. For the players that they replaced, Dembele played a few minutes elsewhere, and Nzonzi also came off the bench a couple of times. Now we come to their first knockout. All he does is sub in the exact same 6 players that he's just brought out. Again, this is the team that goes on to win the final. Then we come to the quarterfinals, right? Matuidi, I believe, was carrying a knock, so he brings in another centre mid to play on the wing in Tolisso, right? He's trying to make as few changes as possible. He's made heaps and heaps. He's found his team. He's narrowing, right? You don't rotate if you don't need to, or if you don't want to based on opposition shape like Argentina did. Then Matuidi comes back in. Again, you can see he's carrying a knock, but he still performs really well. And they beat Belgium in the semis. And you come to the final again, you've narrowed so much and you found your team, you keep it, right? That's the lessons. Okay, so the first thing to say is if it looks weird or I look uncomfortable while I'm doing this, it's because I've filmed the Argentina and now the France game back to back. So I'm having to repeat everything and it feels very weird, but we move. So this is a predictions competition that I'm running. It's on the FootMob app. So if you're not on your phone, you can scan it there. You're going to get 2 points for the correct result, so win, loss, or draw, and you get 3 points for the correct score. So 2-1, for example, 3-3, whatever it ends up being. Now, I've already gone through and I've put in all of my results for the group stage, but you don't have to put in the knockouts. You don't have to guess that far ahead. You can wait until the end of the group stage, and then you'll put in your round of 32 predictions once those teams are picked, and so on and so on. So I've already gone through. I'm not sure if you can see mine. That would be cool if you could. I'm not sure. But yeah, I've just done the group stage. It takes you like 5 minutes, to be honest. And if you need help or if you don't want to scan it, you already have the app on your phone or here. So on iPad, you just come there. Or on the phone, you come to the menu up the top, hit predictor there, and then go to leagues, come down and hit join a league, and then put in the code from that last slide. And again, I've already mentioned some of my coaches, like Ray Coffey, for example. The big thing, and it's not just because this saves me time, although that helps, is consistency. So the Makaton word is going to be the same, and it's choose, right? Makaton, if you haven't heard already, is like sign language for people with special needs. So it just helps them communicate, right? So choose who you think is going to win. Leave that in the comments. That feels weird to do for the first time. And remember to be ready, safe, and kind. Cheers.